I'm one of the most stubborn people you could ever meet. If you told me to go left, I'm gonna go right. Tell me to go right, and I'm gonna go left. Just out of instinct. And throughout my life, I've encountered people who managed to get me to do what they want me to do. And if you know me, that's a fucking accomplishment. And from my experience, those people have one quality that differentiates between those who get people to do what they want and between those who don't, who always get people to do the opposite of what they want. And anybody can apply this and get the results. Where if you have kids, you'll get your kids to do what you want them to do. If you have a partner, they'll literally be on your feet to do whatever you want them to do. And it's a very simple formula. But it depends on three things. So the way we're going to format this video is that this section is the going to heaven strategies. So these strategies in the beginning of this video are based on things that are moral, not evil manipulation. And then towards the end, we're going to give you guys the going to hell strategies. So if you want the good strategies in the beginning, the hell strategy, wait towards the end. Let's begin. Right? 1, it depends on being indirect. And if you're naturally impatient, aggressive, want things to happen now, well, being indirect will elicit too much anxiety from you. The next thing that it requires is that it requires forethought and planning. To get people to do something today, in a week, you have to prepare a few weeks from now. The best influence have the best setup game. It's like a boxer who wants to do a right hook. When I was younger, I used to box, and one of the things that they taught us that the ones that have the best right hook are the ones that have the best jab, where you use the jab to lull your man to sleep and then hit him with a right or left hook. And that jab is the initial planning out, the initial charming, where most people don't charm. A lot of people are more aggressive. A lot of people are more direct. Do what I want. I want this from you. This makes people defensive. There's no art in this. And because of that, it makes people defensive. They actually do the opposite. And in fact, if you know they'll do the opposite of what you say, ask them to do the opposite. That's actually a real thing, right? The thing is that people who are emotional, people who get frustrated very easily, they tend to encounter that same resistance in other people. When they sense that you're very emotional, very angry, very defensive, it also makes them defensive, right? And the next thing that you have to do is obviously, right, is understand their nature. The women and men that get people to do exactly what they want have a deep understanding of their partners. They understand that they're stubborn. They understand that they're hard-headed, right? Like when people are with me, like it's very easy to be with me. Just don't be hard-headed. Like don't be the type of person that does things because of ego. Try to prove me wrong because of ego. And that means understanding that maybe they're stubborn people. Maybe they're defensive. Maybe they're more open-minded. Maybe maybe you need to give them a little bit of this so that they can give you a little bit of that, right? For example, if you want LeBron James, for example, if you want LeBron James to do something for you, LeBron James is known as a man that he wants to be known as a Muhammad Ali, right? As a social justice, as a guy that has purity. If he does something for you and you say, LeBron, you're so clever. You play the political game really well. Can you do me a favor? He won't want to work with you. He'll never want to do you a favor because he wants to be known as somebody who is altruistic, not clever, right? As opposed to telling LeBron James, you're such an amazing person. Can you help me out? If you help me out, I'll make sure to tell the world. Because he wants to be known as a saint, that will get him to do more things for you than saying, hey, LeBron, you're so clever. And what's the difference? Well, if you actually know LeBron and you understand his nature, you know that he wants to be praised for being altruistic. If you go about it in a way and call him clever and say how powerful you are, how much you know the game of power, what that tells me is that you have no understanding of his nature and how what you're saying actually makes him do the opposite. Always remember, to get people to do what you want them to do, you have to understand their self-interest. Everyone is self-interested. But people will hide that they're self-interested. And if you don't understand human nature, you're going to assume the mask for reality. You're going to assume that they're really they have no self-interest. And so when you ask for help and they say no, it baffles you. Well, that's because you're assuming the mask is the reality. Everyone is self-interested. People will never do things just for you. Even if your parents do something for you, it's because it has some form of self-interest. They could tell their friends how successful you are. Parents will do things for you so that they could brag about it with their friends. So if you want something, for example, from your parents, and you know they always brag about you, you try to link it in a way and say, hey, try to present what you want in a way to say, hey, if you do this for me, I could become this and you could show off to your friends, right? And that understanding is really what will get people to bend to your will quicker. But there's a better way to influence people to get them to do what you want them. And that's through the art of being subtle. Let's talk about this now, okay? If you're in a relationship, if you're dating someone, in order to get them to make a move, let's put this right here, new section, okay? For example, if you want somebody to make a move because you're interested, a lot of people sometimes hide that they're interested out of insecurity. Sometimes you want to invite them to make a move by showing that you are receptive to them. You laugh more at their jokes. You make more eye contact with them. You literally sit closer. When you sit closer, you face them, you face towards them like a creepazoid. And what that does is that you're giving them the confidence because you're giving them signals that you're interested and you could get them to make a move. The problem with being subtle is that when being subtle doesn't work, all of a sudden you go Bronx mode, you go desperate mode. All of a sudden you're like, oh my God, oh, they're not showing me interest. They don't see me. No, they see you. Trust me, they see you. They just don't want to see you, right? So you get them to make a move by insinuating that you want them. And what that does is that studies show when you know that somebody likes you, you actually start liking them back. So if you show a person that you're interested, not through telling them, you don't tell them, you show it to them. Like I said, little gifts, little eye contact, you literally sit closer. They'll start to think that, oh my God, this person likes me. And actually, it increases the likelihood that they'll like you. And then they'll make a move. So that's the first thing. If you want somebody to make a move, just show interest. For example, I've met women who were into me that if I looked at them wrong, they'll think I'm interested in them, right? When you like someone, you start to look for signs that they like you, and your brain could sometimes start to like see things that are not there. Anyways, so they'll be like, Alexis, you gave me this gift, you made me this food. It means you like me. I could have sworn like, no, I do that with everyone. Like, I like doing that, right? And so I've had women make a move because I made something for them. I'm like, I'm just cooking food, like plátano con maduro. Like, what's wrong with that? But that I was, in their mind, I was showing interest. It was undeniable that I liked her. But for some reason, I'm not making a move. So it means that it has to mean that Father Alex is shy. And so they start making moves, right? And then that's when I realized, I'm like, interesting how that works. The next thing is that you want to next thing is that if you want them to start thinking of you in a physical way, and you want them to become more physically attracted to you, it's really about doing the little. It's like you just give them little treats, little touches, little nudges, accidental touches. What happens is that when somebody is into you and you accidentally touch them, it's like a jolt of electricity goes through their bodies. And the jolt of electricity, through slightly touching somebody that you're interested in an accidental way, tells the body, oh my God, what else could that be? Oh my God, this feels so good. I remember one time when I told the story of me getting mugged in Mexico, right? And I told it, and I swear to God, I got a standing ovation. It was at this poetry slam I used to go to, a lot of them. And one day they were like, Delicious, tell us something. And they didn't know I did YouTube, right? When I told the story, they were like, dude, you should do YouTube, bro. And I'm like, I was like, oh, thank you. You know? And I remember there was this girl, and me and her were the only black ones. Well, I'm Dominican, but you know, like we were all the only dark-skinned people. You can call me black, it doesn't matter. And she was so hot. Oh my Lord. She was this black girl. Her eyes looked like a tiger. I mean, I don't know who to do. Anyway, so she was like, dude, that was an amazing story. Here's my number. I swear to God, I couldn't believe it. And then when she gave me a hug, people, I've never hugged someone and that hug lingered. It was literally like hugging a cloud. I gave her a hug quickly, and I swear to God, even to this day, it was the softest hug I've ever had in my life, Jesus Christ. And that slight physical contact, I just kept thinking of her throughout the whole day, right? We went out for a few weeks. Long story short, I had to move out. But the point is that the little hug was way better than a fucking grab and squeeze. Let's focus. Okay, right? So slight physical touch is always better. It's like if you're in school and you have an attractive classmate, sometimes accidental touches put certain thoughts in people's mind that shouldn't be there, right? The next thing is, if you want somebody to start working out, right, rather than telling somebody to work out, create competition. Now, this is one of the few times when I'll tell you to use triangulation, to compare them with somebody else. Because what this does is that my ex used to do it, and honestly, I love that part, but my ex got me to work out a lot because of this. Where she would always say, yeah, she would always invite me to go work out. And it's just like, hey, and she was like, hey, come work out. And then she was like, yeah, we just got a person. I swear to God, she did the personal trainer thing. She's like, we got a personal trainer. We're all paying. It was like her friend and her boyfriend, guy friend, anyways. And they started telling me about it. And I swear to God, I started going more. Like, thinking back, I'm like, I think that was the thing that got me to go. And she never told me to work out. She would just always say how great the workout session was and how we got a new personal trainer and look at her boyfriend, how he's doing this and look what I'm doing. And just talking about it and the fact that she was having such a good time made me want to go there. That's one thing, right? You get people to do something by literally comparing them to someone who actually does it. Is it toxic? It's a little toxic, but honestly, out of all the triangulation strategies, I find this one to be the best. The only time it doesn't work is on children. When you start comparing children with other children, don't do that. I know a lot of you motherfuckers love to say, look at your cousin fucking Christopher. Yeah, I had a cousin named Christopher. Yeah, don't do that shit, okay? Because then that kid will end up hating Christopher. The next thing is, if you want to instill the thought of, if you want to send mixed signals and want to get them to think of you that you like them, but at the same time create a sense of doubt, rather than verbally say that, just do this. An example of one day I met this girl, and honestly, she was actually from the channel. Actually, she was like, "Hey, Father Alex, it's you." Many years ago. Actually, one of the first ones. Actually, it was the first time I got recognized by this girl. Oh my God, I was so dumb. She's like, "Oh my God, Father." She didn't call me Father Alex. She was like, "Hey, Alex." I was like, "Hey." I was like my first follower, and she was like, "Hey, are you from YouTube?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "What? You want a picture?" She was like, "No." I'm like, oh, "Fuck." I was like, "All right, bye." Yeah, right. Anyways, so this other girl, long story short, I went to her apartment, and we were just talking. And honestly, I was really attracted to her. But I was sensing a friendly vibe, right? Mixed signals. And how was I sensing a friendly vibe? Well, she didn't tell me we're friendly. It was subtle. She was distant, sitting away, physically close, but not close enough. Enough for me to say, okay, she's not interested. But then she said something to me. She got up close to my ear and lowered her octave. And then she said something like, she went from this to like, "But let me tell you something," like a very sensual voice. And then she went back to normal. And I'm like, hey, where's the other girl with that voice? I want to find her, bring her back. I didn't say that. But the whole casual, normal, sensual, and then back, people. You could sense how it's like being in a hot place and then going into a nice place with a good air conditioner, and then you got to come back out. Feels different. Like the cold feels way better because you only experience it for a short amount of time. So subtle looks also goes. It's not just the fact that you talk in a very normal way, but then sometimes you slow it down and you have a very sensual voice, even though I don't have a sensual voice, but you know what I mean. Like you lower the octave. It could also be with a look, where you're talking with them and then you pause and you're like, now obviously it's creeping when I do it. You know what I mean? You guys could do a better job. But that you look at them in a normal way and then all of a sudden you give them a look to the point where they be like, hey, and they may not say something, but they're like, what was that look? It's the fuck me look, but then you bring it back to a normal look. And that confuses them. As long as you give them a look that insinuates desire, and then you go back to normal, they'll be like, when you go back to the normal conversation and you try to have a normal conversation, in their mind, they're like, wait, let's go back to that. What the fuck was that about? What was that about? Right? And that gets a person who maybe didn't like you to start noticing you more in a sexual way. If a man or a woman doesn't see you in a sexual way, sometimes all you got to do is literally lower your nonverbal, meaning lower the tone, and with the eyes, you just give them a look, like a fuck me look, and then go back to normal. I swear to God, if somebody does that to you, honestly, this is like the horrible example, but it works. It's like if you're a girl and your uncle gives you a weird look, right? Like the weird look is like, what in the pedophile was that look, right? Now, obviously, I don't want you to do that, but you kind of understand the metaphor, right? I hope you understand the metaphor, people. Literally, please, hope you understand it. The next thing is, let's go over here, people. The next thing is verbal insinuation. Verbal insinuation is saying something verbally and then taking it back and changing the topic, right? Where it could be, oh my God, yeah, me and you would never work out. We will always be fighting. Anyways, how was your week next? How was your week next week? I don't know what the fuck you say that. But where you intentionally, or even the phrase, remember that I told you, where a woman told me, me and you will have really good looking kids. And then she changed the topic and then she fucking pulled away, right? And that made me, I swear to God, a few weeks later, I started imagining how it would look. Now, why did that work? Well, because see, she complimented both of us. It could be me and you would really be a good couple, but you know, I travel too much, so it would never work out. Anyways, how was your week? So you're planting the ideas of being in a relationship together and changing the topic. And when you change the topic, that idea, if it hit them, it's still brewing. but it's almost like putting a fire in the basement. You don't see it, but you can sort of smell the smoke coming up. But because you're not there, you can't really focus on it, which actually intensifies it, right? So suggesting things verbally, changing the topic so that whatever you suggest gets inside the person's mind. Like I said, similar to we would have good-looking children, right? Or me and you would never work out. Or like how much we would fight if we were in a relationship. I don't know, don't do that, that's horrible. And the next thing is, let's assume that this person wants a relationship. Right? This works perfect for that. If you know what they want, rather than telling them that you can fulfill what they want, you sort of insinuate that you can fulfill what they want and change the topic. So if they want kids, and you say the whole me and you will have good looking children, and then change the topic, you can kind of see how that actually penetrates harder. If they want, for example, if they're the type of person that actually is a business person and they want to get a girlfriend that works, where they can meet you and that person could work, you know, like romantic working together. They were like, oh yeah, me too. I love working. Yeah, you know what? Me and you would work out. Imagine me and you working together at a cafeteria in Paris. That would be fucking cool, man. Anyways, did you go to that place last week? And I'm like, what the fuck? Wait, what about Paris? What the fuck? Hey, calm down. Like, no, let's talk about what you did next week. I'm like, yeah, it was good. It was good. I hanged out. You know, I kicked the kid. It was fun. And then a week later, I'm like, Paris. Damn, it would be nice to do it with her in Paris. Right? And then all of a sudden, the idea takes root. But the key is that it must be something they want. It has to be something that they want. Because if not, then the idea, like I didn't want to have children, but the reason why that worked was because she was actually more distant. So this works if it's something that they want, or if you made them desperate enough, like I was, to want to be with them. Like your brain will take anything if it's desperate enough. Now, the next thing, this is actually toxic, and if you do this, you know, you're gonna go to hell. And that's using, what is it? Comparison, you know, and comparison is, honestly, it's direct. It's too direct. But if the person has enough low self-esteem, it will work. My cousin boyfriend does this shit, right? A healthy guy will tell you to go fuck yourself. But an unhealthy guy, this will actually work. It'll actually work, right? Another thing, and this is, only do this as a last result. You ready? Only because if you do too much of this, if you do way too much of this, people will see through your manipulations, right? They'll sense that you're trying to pull some shit. And that's using tears. Right? Using tears will cause people to do whatever the fuck you want when the tears come out. And the reason why that works is because human nature, when we sense that you're suffering, people don't like seeing people cry. But if you do too much of this will actually turn manipulative, and they'll start to see right through you. And once they don't give a fuck about your tears, your influence and power goes out the window. You're fucked. Honestly, you're fucked. So remember, verbal insinuation, where you insinuate what they want you to do. And this is the thing. I'm going to be honest. The next thing is that if you really, really want them to do what you want them to do, you got to get a certain personality type. You got to get a guy that's very submissive, a guy with low self-esteem. Those are the ones that will do what you want them to do without having to be subtle, right? But for men who are high self-esteem, you have to use subtlety. We're not talking, like, there's a certain level of self-esteem, that if you're too direct, it's like a guy, right? If you're a girl and you have high self-esteem, and I'll be like, hey, here's $30, you want to fuck me? You're like, yo, what the fuck? You fuck yourself. You got to be subtle. Rather than giving her $30, hey, you want to get a drink with me? Hey, let's go get dinner. You're still paying, but it's subtle. So her self-esteem, people with high self-esteem, like high self-esteem, is allergic to directness. So you could test whether or not the person that you're with has high self-esteem by how compliant they are to your direct commands. But people with low self-esteem have a sensitivity that causes them to react to directness. You could tell the person what to do and they'll do it. As opposed to somebody with high self-esteem, they need some cushioning, they need some lubrication, a please, subtlety. And that is, and honestly, I'm looking back, I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. I'm toxic. Like, I've been with people like this, which tells me that I'm not, I got some healing to do, people. You guys are definitely right. People are like, oh, who hurt you, Alexis? Well, got to talk to my therapist about that. So remember, personality type. This one being subtle works on the high self-esteem end. Being direct doesn't, it only works, directness works on men with low self-esteem. And remember, if you want to use the insinuation, it must be something that they want, like kids or whatever. Like if you want a job, and you're trying to get a job, and I say, and you're like, what should I do to get a job? I'll say, well, there are some things that you could do to get a job, and sometimes, I don't know where I'm going with that, but be more subtle. Like for example, if somebody's asking for a raise, and this is actually my boss that used to do that to me. I actually had a really good boss, and he used to tell me, ask for what you want. But I didn't know he was actually telling me to ask for a raise. He told me that many years later, and I never asked him because I was kind of shy. But he was like, Alexis, do you know that you were actually able to like get double? You just never asked. I'm like, but what do you mean by that? He was like, it was a trans. Actually, one of the first trans persons I ever met in my life. It was a librarian at college. Anyway, so he was like, yeah, you could have gotten paid more. And I was like, how? He was like, well, you didn't notice me like saying you could ask for what you want, don't be afraid. And thinking back, he is right. I just didn't notice what he was saying. He was like subtly saying, ask for what you want, right? Because I asked for little, to be honest with you. So that's one thing. The next thing, the worst of two evils, and it's kind of like similar to, and I'm going to use politics because it's a good example. A lot of liberals were just going against Trump, right? They were like, whatever Trump says, we're going against. And that kind of shows you that you could get people to do things they usually wouldn't do because of how much they hate someone or how much they disagree with someone. There are some psychological state of minds that if you go left, they'll go right. Like if you know that, for example, if you know that you as a parent, your kids tell you, if you tell your kids to do something, they'll do the opposite, well, use that to your advantage. For example, there was this one kid who hated his principal, hated him. And so his counselor came to him because he got suspended and he was failing. And the principal said, you know, Johnny, I'm gonna tell you something. You know, the principal put you in this class that you hate because he wants you to fail. Because he knew the principal hated him. And he was like, he intentionally put you in that class because he wanted you to fail. And the kid is known to be like a rebellious kid. Like this counselor knew him really well. And she said that to him because she knew he hated him so much that he will literally focus on passing those classes just to spite him. And that's exactly what happened. Find out what are the things and people who they hate, or the things or the ideas that they disagree with, or ideology, for example. And if they hate communism, and they say, hey, you know, this is a very communistic point of view, they'll literally reject it because it's communistic. If they say, if you want them to be, for example, not politics, if you want them to be pro-abortion, right?
and they hate Trump, you literally say, you know what Trump said? He loves he hates abortion. Just because of it's like kids. If you tell your kid not to date that guy, they'll start dating that guy. Which, if you know human nature and you're smart enough and you plan ahead, you can genuinely get them to do what you want them to do. If you plan ahead and you're patient enough and you know about their human nature. They call it the worst of two evils, where you could get someone to accept the most insane ideologies all by saying that the person who they hate goes with the opposite ideology, and they'll automatically just go right. They go left, they'll go right. It's crazy.
Is that being indirect and forethought and planning what you want them to do ahead of time is really how you do it. So, for example, if you know that you want them to do something for you, don't get in a fight that weekend. Right? Don't get in a fight that weekend. Like get in a fight after you're done with that. Choose your battles carefully. Understand their nature. Know how they are so that you can know how to ask. You can know how to get them, how to do what they want, what you want them to do. Get people to get people to initiate by insinuating desire. So if you're dating someone and you want them to make the first move, show that you have so much desire, but that you're shy to take action. That'll say, oh my God, they're shy, I gotta take action. Slight incidental contact is a way to get them turned on physically. Rather than go fucking Trump mode, yeah, you know, you gotta grab him by the pussy. You know, ain't no Diddy party, no Diddy. What you gotta do is be subtle with it, right? Create competition. If you want them to work out more, talk about how amazing the guys at the gym are. Oh my God, they work out so much. Oh my God, as a guy, I went to the yoga session. People there are so crazy good at yoga. And my girl's like, what the fuck he means that guys are good at yoga? And I'm going, a subtle look in terms of look, and also lowering your voice in a sexual way where you're talking to someone. But let me tell you something, man. Ain't nothing like a Diddy party, right? Like, oh fucking God, right? But you get what I'm saying, right? You talk like that, and then, girl, you talk like that. Girl, you looking good today, right? You're like, oh, the Lexus. Like, anyways, how was your day? Like, you have that ability to turn it on and turn it off, but also with the look, where you're like this, but then you're like this, right? Obviously, when I do it, it's creepy, but you guys know what I mean. Anyways, if you guys want to apply these strategies, look, people, I have a course for everything, you know? Psychological Game of Attraction will teach you guys how to go from single to a relationship without being creepy. Natural Chemistry, it's a course on how to go from in a relationship where you're happy to a relationship where they respect you, you're both happy, you're both in love. It's a course to create balanced relationship. And you guys can check out the Feminine Woman. It's a course for women it's like a self-help course on how to balance your masculine and your feminine energy. And it'll teach you how to set and achieve your goals. And I have Emotional Mastery, which is a course that I created in order to master your emotions. Click on the description down below where it says purchase those courses, and click on the description down below where it says work with Father Alex, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.